Go for premium CBD that's not going to break the bank. It is locally owned and sourced here in Utah, and it's safe for work, meaning there's no THC, so you don't have to stress about that. And they do have something for everyone. I'm personally using the number two broad spectrum. It's made me feel great. I've been using it for the past month now. Really gives me a little boost of energy every morning, and my body just feels a little bit more relaxed and stress free. Head over to happiestmed.com. That is HEPIUSMED.com. Jason,
how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for coming today. I know that we were trying to get this set up about a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Oh, yes.
You gotta love COVID in the landscape of trying to make any content. I'm sure being a business owner, it's been super rough. So you own and created Dark Prime Collectables, correct?
Yes, I did.
So I kind of want to know, for someone who hasn't heard of Dark Prime Collectables, what can they expect when they go in?
Nostalgia for our childhoods is the number one thing that we shoot for.
Okay.
Besides that, we pride ourselves on focusing on certain things and not trying to outdo or do too many things like other game stores and collectible stores do. So like we only sell Magic the Gathering and D&D for tabletop gaming stuff. Mm-hmm. We sell vintage retro video games, vintage retro toys from back when we were growing up, back when our parents were kids and stuff like that. We also help support local artists by selling some of their stuff in our store too.
Oh, that's super cool, because I don't, there's different game stops around where I'm at, and no one is advertising local artists. I mean, that's just something that you don't ever hear.
So, like, we just had a giant lightsaber Game of Thrones chair that was custom made by a friend of mine.
A giant lightsaber Game of Thrones chair?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh, so do you put it up for sale, or do you put it up for like?
So we had it up for sale for a while. We actually, I'm kind of ashamed to say this, we actually outpriced it to where nobody would actually buy it, so that way it would stay in the store.
I mean, I don't blame you. It's pretty awesome.
We finally had just lowered the price down to be able to sell it, so we could actually get some other stuff in by the same guy that made that.
I gotcha. So as far as like retro video gaming goes, are we talking like all the way back to like Atari and first gen Ataris, or like more like Nintendo NES, 64, PS1?
Ataris, TurboGrafx systems, all that stuff. We don't do anything past, let's see, the newest system we've had, or newest games we have, is like PS3, I think.
Oh, okay, so you still have quite a wide range of stuff you take in.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious, so like, because we had that weird bubble, what was it, maybe 2019, 2018,
mm-hmm.
where there was like a big spike in people going for retro video games. Sadly, a lot of it was people trying to buy and resell.
Yeah.
But what item, like, was there a specific like big ticket item for you guys? Like, was it?
For us, for the video game stuff, we actually didn't go too much into, like, the Nintendo was the one that was having the biggest spike.
Yeah.
With that stuff. We actually stayed away from that just because trying to buy that stuff was outrageously overpriced, and trying to find buyers to sell that to was even harder. So we actually went with the TurboGrafx systems that weren't as sought after, but still made a pretty penny off those. The PlayStation stuff, some of the Atari stuff, and different games, different systems like that.
Because I've never actually played TurboGrafx. My buddy used to have one growing up, and I used to always want to try and get one, but I couldn't. That's one that is pretty difficult to come across.
Oh, yes. In the 6 years we've been in business, we've only had 2.
Wow. That's crazy. Is it one of those items that when you find one, does it stay for a long time? Or
no. Luckily with that, I can actually have a big community of retro gamers that are into that kind of stuff, that I can just call them up and be like, hey, I got this in. Who wants it? Who wants dibs on it?
Because my gaming history, I grew up on N64 and PS1, and I've gone back, and now I own all the N64 games that I had as a kid, and I make it a point every year I play Star Fox 64 twice, because it's what I played every day growing up for a long time. But it's hard to find PlayStation games.
For my store, it's not. It's actually one of the biggest selections we have. We have harder problems finding the 64 stuff because around here there's about 8 other gaming stores that people tend to take their stuff to. But by the time everything comes to us, we get the leftovers, which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
for the most part. But yeah, our PlayStation 1 and PS2 collections are one of the biggest ones out of everything else we sell.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's been my hardest part is like, at least down, because you're in the more northern Davis County area, and I live down in southern Davis County. For those who listen who don't live in Utah, we're about 25 minutes away, maybe give or take traffic. There's no one down here or in Salt Lake aside from one place that even attempts PS1 games or the place that does compete or does go for PS1 games, it is so marked up.
Yeah, it's because most game stores look at PS1 games as a oddity that nobody really wants.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that the PlayStation was great for the children. Even today, I'd rather my daughter play the PlayStation rather than Nintendo or some of the other systems out there.
Interesting.
Just because they had the better copyrighted game characters in games, like they had the Smurfs, they had some of the other stuff like that, whereas Nintendo kept tight control of what games they made.
That's a good point. I never thought of that because PlayStation did have like a lot of mainstream character games, like you said, like Smurfs or like Tom and Jerry, things like that. See, I played a lot of JRPGs when I had my PlayStation 1, and that's a genre that people didn't realize that Sony really was taking control of. Like, you think Nintendo might have some JRPGs. PlayStation has a lot under their belt.
No, another genre that nobody really pays attention to on PlayStation, which is surprising, is the horror generation. The horror games.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that because I love horror on the PC.
Yeah. PlayStation pretty much has control over horror genre for video games.
Well, because I know that like new age horror games are really there's some good ones on PlayStation, and we were going to get that Silent Hill reboot with what was that demo that they released? Where you had to walk through the hallway over and over again.
Yeah, I can't remember because that was a demo of a game that they never really.
Yeah, and I thought that was going to really take over the horror genre, that whole game itself. But I don't know. Sadly I don't play a lot of console anymore. I'm mostly a PC guy.
That's my problem too. Is I had a giant video game collection. I actually got rid of most of it just because I didn't ever play it.
Same. That's what I did too. Is I had a couple of shelves full of everything from the N64 to today, and everything's now on my PC. So it just was sitting in there collecting dust. So I kind of sold off a lot of my not items that had like sentiment.
Yeah, and that's what I did with my collection because I was going to go for a full Sega Genesis collection.
Oh.
I hit about 300 games, and after a while, I was just like, you know what, I'm not playing these.
I liked Genesis. I played a lot of what is the NBA where the ball catches on fire? NBA Jam.
Yeah, NBA Jam.
I liked NBA Jam. I had Booger Man. That one was like a really good one, and there was a couple other ones, but
I kept about 30 of my Sega Genesis games in my collection when I sold it off.
Yeah.
And that's only because they were either horror-based games or games that I, again, had sentimental value with me.
So. Right. Do you have an all-time horror game that you just, like, go back to multiple times?
Not really. With horror games, I would go through, play them, then let them sit for a while, and go, you know what, I haven't touched that game for a while, so I'll just go ahead and play that one.
Yeah.
That's how I am with most of my games. The only game I've ever actually just continuously gone back to over and over and over is Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, Diablo is... What's funny is Diablo was a game that actually got me into, like, kind of got me into gaming, because my dad was a big gamer, and I remember him getting Diablo 1, and I would sit there and just watch him play. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, the first boss in that one is the Butcher.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember, like, him screaming like fresh meat, and as a kid I'd get scared and like run out of the room. And Diablo 2, I mean, speaks for itself.
Oh yeah, Yeah, no, me and my dad actually played Diablo 1 together. We played Diablo 2 together. We played Diablo 3 together up until my uncle passed away several years ago, and then he stopped playing it as much, and so my wife and I play now.
Oh, well, hey, at least you got someone to play with, because that's the best. So it looks like chat has a question. Number one question, Batman or Superman, and why? Now, I know this is a little off topic, but I'm curious.
So, this is where I differ with a lot of people. Neither.
I respect that because I don't like either personally.
I think Superman's an overpowered person that just gains a new power every other day just to make himself more stronger. And Batman is too intelligent for his own good that he just forgets he has stuff to solve the problems until after it's already too late and you're like, oh yeah, I have the problem solver right here.
You're right. Sorry about that, chat and people listening. I believe that was my dryer that just scared the living crap out of me. No, I agree with you. So I'm not super versed in the comic book world, but I do dabble a little bit, and I definitely have to say that I don't like, at least comic book wise, I don't follow a lot of the mainstream people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of individuals don't realize who are now into like superheroes because of Marvel and like some of the DC books is like, even like Iron Man and those guys weren't popular. Like,
no.
You know, they were kind of like side characters, and there's so many other awesome characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, the reason most of these characters are popular nowadays is because the MCU, or Marvel in general, actually didn't have control over their movie rights for most of their superheroes that were popular.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why they went with Iron Man and Thor and Hawkeye and stuff like that, and the Avengers, is because they were the only ones that they actually had control over.
Because I knew that they didn't have control over Spider-Man, which has always been a big...
Yeah, Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four were all owned by other companies.
Yeah,
for movie rights.
And Sony has
Spider-Man and one other one. I can't remember which other one they have now. They have Venom. Well, they have all the Spider-Man characters. They actually have another superhero that they just don't ever touch. And then Fox had Fantastic Four. No, Sony had Fantastic Four. Has Fantastic Four.
So Fox had X-Men, right? Has
X-Men and Ghost Rider.
And see, Ghost Rider was actually, I read a graphic novel of Ghost Rider. Awesome. The Nicolas Cage movie, not so awesome.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm hoping that if they continue with making Ghost Rider stuff, that they actually do some of the better ones. Because now that Marvel owns it, I'm hoping that they actually do a good Ghost Rider. Yeah,
and probably don't get Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Do you have like a top, like, if you were to go get a new comic, do you have like some top ones that you'll go after?
So, Deadpool's always been a favorite of mine ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Back before he was even popular and famous, I loved Deadpool. Blue Beetle's another one I like that nobody really pays attention to.
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Blue Beetle is so the first version of him was a scientist that discovered an alien artifact and started experimenting on it.
Okay.
And it attached to him, and it became an exoskeleton suit that he could cover himself with and deactivate, and it could actually talk to him.
Okay, I like that.
When he died, it was passed on to his assistant, who was a Hispanic kid that thought he was as cool as it could be, and kind of misused it for a little bit until he actually became a superhero with it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard. Is there any plans for him, like in?
Not really. They tried to use him in Young Justice, the DC cartoon series, and he did really well in that. But other than that, they don't really have any plan. There's no plans to do a movie or anything like that with him.
Well, then let's switch over to what we're seeing with the new MCU reveals. Is there anything where you're like, finally, we're gonna see?
So as long as the WandaVision stuff goes the way the comic books have had to go with everything that they're leading it to, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Really?
Because that's going to bring in the Marvel Universe of Satan, Hephaestus, which will also bring in a lot of other interesting superheroes and villains to be able to compete with in the MCU now that Thanos is gone. And
right. See, that's something I didn't even know. I didn't realize that WandaVision was comics.
Yeah. Well, somewhat. Some of the storyline in WandaVision is from comics.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, that's always the tough part. And I imagine from someone who it sounds like you're really versed in comics, like, has it been? I guess the overall question I want to ask is like, has it been just amazing this ride of like finally seeing these superheroes on the big screen, or is it kind of like little torn because you're like, this isn't what I.
I'm actually a big fan of it. I love it. I wish like Black Widow would have had a better run in the MCU than what she has had so far.
Mm-hmm.
But like the fact that they're not just taking storylines from the comic books, but they're being inspired by the comic books is actually really fantastic in my opinion.
That's good because I grew up like knowing superheroes, but not really being into the comics as much. And I do have to say, like, after maybe, I don't know, I can't remember the timeline. Once we got into more like vast characters, like pretty much right around when we hit the first Avengers movie, I started jumping in pretty deep.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, like, what they've created and the community that's around it is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone, you don't see a lot of haters. Like, I mean, there's haters everywhere, but everyone's just about having fun. And that last Avengers movie was probably one of the best movies I've seen, and probably the best representation of doing anything that involves time travel.
Oh yeah. I was hesitant to see that one or hear when I heard about the time travel stuff, but I was glad that they actually did it in a actual way that didn't just go, "Hey, screw the entire everything else."
That's what I was worried about. Is when I heard that there was going to be time travel, I'm like, every movie that tries to dabble into time travel, it just ends up ruining itself because we could just play that card of like, well, why don't they just time travel back and kill Thanos when he's a baby?
Yeah.
But they did it in such a good job that there wasn't a point in the movie where I was like, oh, why don't they do this? I was just so vested in the ride of the movie.
Yeah, I also like the fact that they explained that any changes they made wouldn't actually change the future, or just adjust it.
Right. No, I thought that they did a super good job at that, and I don't know, I'm excited to see where they go because a lot of these movies that are coming out are new characters, and I don't know anything about them. Like, there's Immortals. I know there's going to be I don't remember what it is. It's going to be like the dude who knows Kung Fu or something like that.
Yeah, that's not Iron Fist. I'm trying to think of the other one.
Might be Iron Fist. Got the internet, thankfully. And then since I'm a big horror junkie, games and movies, I'm super excited to see what it ends up going into that Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange
and the
multi, because they're saying that that's going to be a horror movie.
Yeah, and that's Hephaestus and the Dream Demon. Is what I'm hoping that they're going to be leading WandaVision into the Hephaestus stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so that might tie into that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So because the multiverse is what they kind of dabbled in with the time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So how, I guess in your eyes, how do you think they can make that a horror movie?
So, there's a character in the Doctor Strange comic books that actually is a dream demon that deals with horror stuff, horror nightmares and stuff like that.
Oh, so I got you. So it could be like put him into nightmares, and that's where like it can.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that's the other one.
So we have, believe these are confirmed. So a Loki movie or a Loki series.
Yeah.
Black Widow, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Hawkeye, Blade, which I hope is good.
I'm hoping, but I'm just hoping it's not a rehash of the 90s Blade movies.
Yeah. Eternals, which has a star-studded cast so far.
Yes, I'm actually excited for Eternals.
I don't know. So I did a little bit of research on Eternals. It sounds like they're pretty OP, kind of like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so we actually saw some of the Eternals throughout the MCU so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the giants that they like in Guardians of the Galaxy when they're talking about the stone.
Yeah.
And they show the giant creature wielding the purple Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
That's an Eternal.
Okay.
He's an Eternal, and the head that they visit throughout the Guardians of the Galaxy movies
Yeah.
is as the head of one of the Eternals.
Interesting. Yeah, that one's gonna be really. I think that one's gonna be a big like high budget like blow your mind type of movie.
I think so too.
We have Thor: Love and Thunder, which I'm sure will be.
I'm not excited for that one, to tell the truth.
No.
I'm not a fan of the storyline that they're going to go with that one. Because it takes place with the female Thor that they did in the comic books not too long ago.
Yeah.
Which was Jane Foster.
Oh.
And she somehow got the hammer from Thor, became a female Thor while she had cancer.
In the comic book series? Well, that's going to be interesting.
I know.
I wonder.
So I'm just hoping that's not really the direction they're going with, but that's what they've already shown pictures of her in the Thor costume.
Right, I saw that and I'm like, okay, it could be cool, but that'd be a weird way to make it happen.
Yeah, because then she dies at the end of the comic book story arc.
So you would get a whole movie of this female Thor being badass, and then all of a sudden, we don't get anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be good. I mean,
from what I've seen of the trailers, I'm actually a big fan of that.
Yeah.
The fact that they have to learn to work together, and Falcon's still learning to try to become the new Captain America.
Yep.
So.
And then I don't know what if ? Is.
What if is exactly what it sounds like. It's what if. What if Captain America, if Steve Rogers wasn't the Captain America, but somebody else was?
Oh.
What if Wolverine never got the adamantium bones and claws?
So it's just is it gonna be like a movie with a bunch of short stories?
It's actually gonna be a series on Disney Plus.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's going to be just a bunch of short versions of it. Of what if this character did this, or what if that character did that?
That could be fun.
It was a comic books line that they did back in the 90s, early 2000s, where they introduced a lot of what ifs, and they were actually really good story arcs.
Yeah, I bet that's going to be a lot of fun. We know WandaVision's out now. Currently, they haven't had the final episode, right? I think
No, there's still 2 more episodes after today's, I think. And
then Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm excited for that one because I just really like Kung Fu stuff, so I think that's going to hit that for me.
So I'm hoping that that's where they actually fix the Mandarin from Iron Man with that.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
Because that's where the Ten Rings are. Is Mandarin's powers.
So we have a question. Was in-game better than Back to the Future time travel-wise?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all throughout the entire things, but too much time travel, changing stuff, and then it's like, oh, we messed this up. Let's go back and try to change this. Whereas with in-game, they just literally went, hey, we cannot do any of this stuff. So if we do any of this stuff, it's going to mess up. Just so y'all know.
Right.
And we cannot fix it.
No, I'm also curious, kind of. So we had another question. I like the What If series about some of the X-Men. I hope that we really get, because we know that X-Men are now going to be in the MCU.
Yes.
I hope we get an MCU X-Men movie within the next couple of years.
So, rumors and talks right now is after the Internals, is when they're going to actually do an X-Men movie. So it'll probably be in the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, and I know that Hugh Jackman doesn't want to continue X-Men and doesn't want to continue Wolverine. I feel like, though, they kind of have to get him in for at least one MCU movie.
So it probably won't be MCU related, but he's been talking with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. About doing an appearance in Deadpool.
Yeah, and we did get confirmed there's going to be a new Deadpool movie. They're going to keep the R rating.
Yes.
Which I think is super important. So I'm curious to see if maybe we'll get that Wolverine crossover at least a little bit for the fans.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping that they leave it as a separate universe, and then they just like Deadpool just travels through a dimensional portal to the MCU to actually just do a full blown crossover afterwards. But
right, because I mean, from my understanding, Deadpool is actually, if we're talking about power and strength, doesn't he have a series where he kills pretty much everybody?
Yeah. There's an entire story arc where he's called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And
That'd
then
be
with that one, we
interesting.
also got introduced to 20 million other Deadpools throughout the.
Then we got a question. What's next for Star Wars?
Next for Star Wars, between the 20 million shows coming out in Disney Plus, they don't plan on making a movie for the next 2 years I know of.
Yeah, and we don't know yet where that's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm personally hoping, because one of my favorite games in Star Wars content all time is the Old Republic game.
Mm-hmm.
The first one specifically. The second one was good. The MMO is decent. But I really think that if they were to do a trilogy in that Star Wars Old Republic universe, we could potentially see one of the best trilogies out so far.
Yeah. I know Disney's currently talking to a lot of the authors that wrote the Star Wars books that they made uncanon when they bought Lucasfilms.
Right.
To try to actually get their stuff into, or some of their stuff into the movies and shows and whatnot. So
right. I'm more known, or I know more stuff about Star Wars, and I do have to say, like, I think that we were very close to a potential, I don't want to say death of Star Wars, but I really think after the last movie that came out, they really weren't sure the longevity of Star Wars. And then after Mandalorian did what it did, now we're getting this huge, because I mean, they released, what was it? Like you said, like
it was
15 or 16 new content.
Yeah, so they did 6 movies in 7 years, and then they said that they're going to be releasing, I think it's about 10 different shows in the next like 3 or 4 years.
So what is your opinion on Mandalorian?
So I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
As a nerd, I know I fail, but at the same time, I have the same problem as I do watching WandaVision, because like I've been watching WandaVision, and I get mad because I go, cool, I watched this episode, now I have to wait a week.
Mm-hmm.
And with the whole streaming of everything nowadays, I've been spoiled to where I can just binge watch anything I want.
Yeah.
And not being able to binge watch shows like that do a weekly episode like that kind of makes me go, oh, I don't want to watch this anymore.
I get it 100%, because I did that. The only 2 shows that I've ever, well, there's been a few. Game of Thrones, that was really hard to be weekly on.
Yeah.
And then get a year gap in between each season. And Mandalorian was pretty hard. I do have to say, from my personal opinion, someone who, obviously the originals are on the top pedestal. We all know that. Mm-hmm. I still really enjoy the prequels for what they are. I mean, Clone Wars is probably, could be forgotten, but Phantom Menace is decent if we take out some Jar Jar stuff. And I think Revenge of the Sith is a very good movie.
Yeah. Movie-wise, I love the movie. I love most of the movies.
Yeah.
In fact, I've looked at most movies except for the original trilogy as standalone movies.
It's a good way to look at it.
And whatnot. So that way I can just nitpick those scenes out of those movies and go, this is what I didn't like about the movie, but everything else was actually really good.
Right. Like,
I loved the fact that Phantom Menace actually introduced one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Darth Maul.
Yeah, Darth Maul was... I wish that... Thankfully, they saved Darth Maul's character by bringing him back in different forms, and he's still relevant in, like, the Han Solo movie, and maybe we'll see him more in, like, the real-life situations, but I agree with you. I think that Darth Maul should have been what Count Dooku was.
Oh, yeah.
And Grievous. They didn't need to do any of those characters.
No. But yeah, no, like I've nitpicked those movies and whatnot, but like I like the prequels, I like the originals. The new trilogy or the last 3 movies and whatnot were decent movies, except for certain scenes. That's the only problems I had with them. Yep.
I really enjoyed Force Unleashed, or not Force Unleashed. That's the
Force
game.
Awakens.
Force Awakens. Force Unleashed, great game. Check it out. I liked Force Awakens. I get what Rian Johnson was trying to do with his movie, and I've rewatched it. I like it more the 3rd and 4th time watching it versus the first time watching it, even though they do Luke kind of dirty. And then the last movie, I didn't like the idea that they went with, but I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah. So I didn't like the idea they went with either, but he had no choice when his original plans got nixed.
Yes. Yeah, they should have just let J.J. Abrams do all 3 movies.
Oh yeah.
Let him do his story, and I think we would have had a very competitive trilogy with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to bounce around directors, I get is probably cool for the director world, not great for the fans.
No. And they did learn from that. That's why they're not doing any more movies for the next 2 or 3 years that they've acknowledged anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, they figure with TV shows or Disney Plus shows, whatever you want to call it, they can actually do better storylines because they can go, hey, we can actually do an actual story arc, not a...
Right. I will give you the Star Wars fan seal of approval now that season 2 of Mandalorian's done. I personally think, and everyone can agree with me or disagree, I think The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars content they've put out probably since the originals. Maybe aside from like the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah. From what I've seen of it, I'd have to agree. The only scene I've seen, or the part I've had a disagreement with on people, is the introduction of Luke Skywalker.
Interesting. What did you not like?
I didn't like the fact that they just made him completely a badass and whatnot as a Jedi, which all Jedis are badasses, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then literally up until after that point, you don't, at least right now, nothing is acknowledged about other Jedis or Force power, very powerful Force users, and yet you had Force Awakens that didn't even acknowledge the Baby Yoda or Gru.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't understand yet, and they're going to have to try and figure out what to do because, with Force Awakens, I don't want to say anything that you don't know about the new Mandalorian season.
Yeah.
Because there is another character that gets introduced that's very Force powerful.
Yeah.
And that is another question for me, like, where on the timeline do things change to when we get to Force Awakens? Because I know that there's a long time gap, but that, if we're going off of what we know, that means that Baby Yoda either no longer exists or dies or is in some other place when Force Awakens happens, because all we know is Luke, Rey, and Kylo, or those are your big like power players. Yeah. So where does Baby Yoda go, and where does this other character that gets introduced in the season 2 go? They don't ever talk about it.
So that's why I'm hoping in season 3 and later seasons that they actually start acknowledging what happens with these guys, because otherwise it's just going to lead to massive plot holes that everybody complains about with plot holes in Star Wars anyway.
I have heard a rumor of a push to make those 3 movies not canon.
Yeah.
Because they want to go in a different direction.
Yeah, once they do that though, then you have the fans that go, well, episodes 1, 2, and 3 shouldn't be canon.
Right. Well, and I think too, when you start talking about what's canon, what's not canon, that is confusing for like casual fans.
Oh yeah.
Because then they're like, wait, those movies I went and saw in the theater didn't actually happen. Like, that's a hard explanation for a company to explain to these casual fans and the kids who are loving it. Like, oh yeah, you have to pretend like those never happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard enough with the hardcore fans when Disney goes, hey, the books aren't canon.
That, in my personal opinion, was the biggest mess up that they've made, because there's so much untapped potential for like live action stuff from those books. Someone said in chat, my mom is going to be the next Palpatine because she is old, crazy, and evil.
Isn't that most mothers though?
Yeah. Rogue One was dope though. Yeah, Rogue One was dope.
I liked Rogue One. I thought it was a great storytelling of them getting the plans and didn't revolve around any of the main characters in the Star Wars universe.
Right. I think that Rogue One was, I don't know, just from the start to finish, I was like, let's go. It's exciting.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that more Star Wars stuff is like that, where it does revolve around Luke and Leia and all the main characters, and actually goes to something interesting.
So I pulled up what we have on the docket for Star Wars content. We have a Kenobi series, which a lot of information has come out. Ewan McGregor is going to be Obi-Wan. Yes,
which I found funny considering for years he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do anything. I hate Star Wars. I'm never going to do anything for it again. And then turns around and goes, yeah, sure, I'm going to do it.
I have a feeling that after The Mandalorian, all these old Star Wars actors are like, that paycheck's probably pretty big right now. And the other interesting thing is Hayden Christensen is signed on to be in almost every episode.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that means like we're going to get I know that they've kind of talked about the timeline, but the timeline to me sounds like it's post Vader, or like Vader is now an entity. It's no longer
Yeah,
Anakin.
what they've said so far is it's supposed to take place after Vader and while Obi-Wan's in hiding.
Yeah, so I don't understand how Hayden Christensen is going to be involved because he's not like the actor. I'm not talking like the actor himself. It doesn't make sense to me because he doesn't play Vader. He has no part in being Darth Vader, so
I don't know. That is going to be a weird one.
That one kind of scares me a little bit, but I'm hopeful. We have an Ahsoka series, live action.
I liked her in Clone Wars. I just don't see her story arc going very far with that. Because she was one of the main characters in Clone Wars leading up to Anakin becoming Vader. She made a few appearances in Rebels, or not Rebels,
yeah, I think you're right, Rebels.
Yeah, Rebels, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was after Vader.
Right.
And then she made an appearance in Mandalorian just recently.
Yeah, that's the one I didn't want to spoil because I wasn't sure. She was in it. The only thing that, depending on where they go with that series, in the episode you also find out, and I don't think this is too much spoilers, she's searching for, gosh, I just lost his name. Bad blue dude. Kron?
Oh,
Am I thinking Kron? I think that's Star Trek.
It's Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, Thrawn. That Thrawn is canon and is in that series. So if her series is going to be about her going after him, that could be kind of cool. But that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but I mean, after that, how much of a story arc can you do with that? And how many seasons could you go with her trying to take on an admiral?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like my biggest fear with all the Star Wars content. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Star Wars fan and I want to see it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just worried that it's going to saturate it too much. Where now it's like they're really pushing for content that they shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the saturation. I'm more worried about the cohesiveness of it all.
Yeah.
Because at some point, something's going. Because unless every writer is writing the same, writing for the same show, some writers are going to end up writing something that the other writers are going to go, "Oh, they did that, but we said this."
Right. I agree with you. I think that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
I know. So we have Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic, and I believe that's going to be a cartoon.
I believe so.
I'm not too familiar with what that one's going to be.
The Rangers of the New Republic is kind of like a Mandalorian type thing,
right?
With the actual Mandalorians and being the kind of bounty hunters and stuff like that.
Oh, that one is live action.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Rangers of the New Republic.
Nice.
Lando series, which
that's another one I'm worried about too, just because he's in charge of it in Cloud City. That's his entire story arc.
Yeah.
In the Han Solo movie, they covered that. Like, hey, yeah, he's in charge of the city.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to do like. I just don't know, like a Lando series. If it's live action, are we going old man Lando? Or are we going Donald Glover Lando? Yeah. Like, and what are we gonna do? Just him being Lando? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, the only thing I could hope for is, and it'd only be able to go like a season or two, is him getting the power and money to run Cloud City.
Yeah.
But other than it running for like 2 seasons though.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like a series like that is only going to be attractive to like fans like us who are like more interested on like deeper Star Wars stuff. Mm-hmm. So how would they make that like appealing to like, you know, that casual fan, like the Mandalorian fans who are just throwing like.
That's the thing is they're not going to be able to with that. I mean, it's either it's going to be a backstory of how he became ruler of Cloud City, or what happened after the fall of the Empire, and either way, it's just going to be a casual. It's not going to be for casual fans.
I feel like it needs, and I don't think that can be a long-term series, like you said. I just don't see Lando being 3-4+ seasons.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty much a cash grab for the people that love Lando, because Lando's one of the most popular characters in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So.
There's Andor. It's a spy thriller. Let's see. The role of rebel spy Cassian Andor from Rogue One will be joined by a fantastic new cast. So, kind of the same thing we saw in Rogue One, but just a little bit more fleshed out. Could be interesting. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. The Acolyte. They don't have a lot of information about that. Star Wars: The Bad Batch. So that, I believe that's the animated one that follows like a group of clones who are like a group that is more established. Yeah, that's the thing is now there's Sizzle, Visions, a droid story. Oh yeah, shout out to making Willow. I love that personally.
I'm actually hoping that it's actually they take the movie, redo it, and just turn it into a long TV series.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just going to be fantastic. Because the movie itself was fantastic.
Yeah, Willow's so good.
So
let's get back to we got off rail from passionate stuff. I want to get back to Dark Prime Collectables. Now we talked a little bit about what you carry. So what's the backstory? Like, what made you decide to jump into doing this?
So true story. We found out my wife was pregnant and we didn't know.
Okay.
She went in to the hospital to the ER room of pains. She was there for like 3 hours before I could get there.
Okay.
Because I was at work when she went in. The entire time the doctors aren't telling her anything and whatnot. Because they're like, oh yeah, it's probably just gallstones and whatnot. They're trying to figure out, get the x-ray machines set up so they could do that. And 3 hours later, I show up. Literally, as soon as I walk in the door, the doctor comes in and goes, oh yeah, by the way, you're pregnant, so we can't do x-rays.
Oh, what?
So we were just shocked. At the time, I was working as a temp in Freeport Center up in the Clayfield area.
Yeah.
Making very minimum wage. And so we were living pretty rough and whatnot. So I actually was talking to a friend of mine one day, stressing out when I was staying at DI. And he was a reseller. He did the whole storage war stuff and buying and reselling and whatnot. Yeah. And he actually recommended I do it.
Okay.
I had I was a negative $1,000 in my account and had only $1 to my name.
Wow.
In cash. And I was like, I'm a nerd. I don't see very many nerds around here. Because like at that time, the only comic book shop I knew of up in that area had closed down. Hmm. And it wasn't there for very long. So I was like, oh, there's nobody that wants to buy stuff like that. So I started talking to him. And I found an item that I was going to buy for myself, and then I was like, you know what, this thing's actually pretty expensive, so I'll let him buy it. He actually told me to go buy it for the $1 that it was priced at, and he bought it off me for $25.
Oh, awesome.
And then from that point on, I talked to my wife, and she's like, yeah, let's take that $25 and go, let's try this out. So then I started buying video games and toys and stuff like that, and taking them up to the swap meet. And selling them out there every Sunday at the swap meet up in Riverdale.
Right.
So I did that for about 2 years. I was doing really decent out there. And my dream job's always been to own my own business. So after about 2 years of doing that, me and my wife actually talked and we went, yeah, we're doing really well. Let's go ahead and try to do the store. That was 6 years ago.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing to hear. Like, that's a true, like, for lack of better terms, like rags to like riches and like you don't hear stories like that. Mm-hmm. You were a negative $1,000.
Yeah.
You had $1 to your name.
Mm-hmm.
You had an opportunity to buy an item. Your friend told you to do it. He bought it from you, and then you just rolled with it.
Yeah.
Wow. Impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, congrats. I mean, you're living your dream.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is so much fun. I get to do what I love. I get to play games and toys and stuff like that. Like today, I spent my day playing with Legos. I should say Lego because it's not Legos. If you say Legos, people get mad.
It's Lego?
Yeah. Plural, Lego is Lego.
You learn something every day. No, that's amazing because, I mean, so did it just turn to a point where, like, you were buying enough stuff that you could fill a whole entire store?
No, we started off as partial consignment, so we were selling for other people. Matter of fact, 75% of our store when we first opened was consignment.
Okay.
Because we had me and 3 other people went in together to open the first location. Everything was in my name. All my money went out doing it all, and they just paid me to sell their stuff.
Wow.
As time went on, we actually started shrinking down their stuff and started selling buying more stuff and selling more stuff of our own, to where our store now takes our stuff now takes up about 85% to 90% of our store.
Wow.
So we still do consignment, but not as much as we used to.
That's crazy. I mean, that's, you know, I really like to think that, like, if people hear that story, like, don't ever not think you can't do it.
I know, and that's why I tell everybody that story. Is like, I know other resellers that literally will hide their information and saying, "Oh no, I don't do anything. I actually work at this job over here," and I'm just like, "Why hide it? Just tell these people how to do it.
Yeah,
teach them.
I mean, you never know what you might fall into. You might own your own business for 6 years now and do what you love every day.
Yeah. So truthfully, like me, I'd love to have like 6 other comic book shops up and toy shops up in my area, rather than just have it just be me and 2 other shops.
Yeah.
Because then more people as people go around to these other shops, they're going to shop around and go to every other shop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that competition on those things is important because, like you said, you carry specific things. So when people need that specific thing, they're going to be like, Dark Prime, obviously. Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations. I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, you don't hear a lot of stories like that very often, especially, you know, post 2010. You know, starting a business in 2010, especially a retail shop, is kind of scary for a lot of people, and you were able to break down that barrier. It's awesome. To kind of go into like living now in 2020 and 2021, how's COVID?
COVID's hurt us quite a bit, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's hurt every business.
Yeah.
What really hurt us was I just started doing Magic the Gathering and D&D 2 years ago.
Okay.
We hit our stride of having a big turnout for like Magic the Gathering on a weekly basis and stuff like that, just as COVID hit.
Oh,
and then within within 3 months of last year, they turned around and went, like Wizards of the Coast turned around and went, any game store play is now forbidden. If you get caught holding games, you're going to lose your permit to sell Magic the Gathering D&D stuff.
Right.
So I was like, oh, cool. So I can't do.
Yeah, you can't get around that.
No. So between that and the amount of people that have decided not to come in as much or as often, that would spend or buying certain things or buying a lot of stuff, that's dwindled down quite a bit. It's starting to pick up though this year with everybody being a little more careful and cautious, and the fact that the vaccine's out now. Yeah. A lot more people are able to get it. So.
Has Wizards of the Coast announced like a soft return date or anything?
They have not. They're doing it based on a monthly basis.
Okay.
So once the numbers hit a certain number that they're comfortable with letting people play again, then they'll say, yeah, go ahead and do it. But
that's good, because I do think like there would be. I mean, I know I played Magic the Gathering myself for a little while, pre like Commander style. I haven't done anything with that yet.
Oh, Commander's a fun style.
Try it. That's what everyone tells me, and I want to get back into it. But when I started hearing about that, it was like mid-pandemic, so I haven't been able to venture back. But you know, I guess I understand where they're coming from, because yeah, you might be 6 feet apart from who you're playing, but like, you're not gonna be able to host many games if everyone has to be 6 feet apart and you know, a limited space.
Yeah, last year Wizards of the Coast tried to do a soft reopening of allowing games play. That lasted all of 2 weeks until the numbers tripled overnight in the entire country, and they're like, "Yep, nope, we're going."
Yep, going back to the more stricter rules. So Magic has been your. Do you carry any other? Do you carry Yu-Gi-Oh? Or
we carry loose products for Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. We're working on getting Pokemon and stuff in though. But in order to carry it, you have to get approved by the Pokemon company, and in order to get approved, you have to either have what they call a professor on staff or become a professor yourself. Professor is their term for judge.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I was talking to some people and went in to try to do it, and I was like, oh, okay.
So what goes into doing that? Is it like
it's literally just taking a test and getting a certain score on the test and having certain qualifications and stuff like that. I have most of the qualifications. I just need to take the test. But I need to figure out how to take the test.
So okay. So if you become a professor, does that mean that you can host like
I can host
premiere days and stuff?
Premiere days, Pokemon events and stuff like that. As long as they're not like Wizards of the Coast where they're forbidding it. But right now, most of those companies are saying no in-store gameplay.
Right.
Truly, I kind of want it so I can actually start carrying some of the Pokemon product that the scalpers are going out and buying and jacking up, because I want to be able to have product for like kids and families that want to come in and buy that stuff.
You know what? So that was a topic that I really wanted to talk about is the Pokemon craze right now and kind of where you sit on it. So like I had a conversation. For those who don't know, B. Burt in our Twitch chat is my fiance. And we have both been collecting Pokemon cards as of late. Well, I've been collecting on and off since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And when the craze started again, it was like that nostalgia trip of like, oh man, it's so cool. We were going and buying like some of the booster boxes and different things like that. And then like the McDonald's is going on right now. They're doing the...
Yeah, McDonald's isn't doing it anymore. That was only like a 2-day time span.
Yeah.
Because all the scalpers went out and bought them all up.
I had a conversation with her and I was like, she's like, oh, we should have went to McDonald's and got some. I'm like, you gotta understand though, like that's for kids. Like not like it's a kid's meal, and I get like nostalgia. Like would I went and bought one if I could have? Yeah, probably. But the scalpers are starting to ruin Pokemon.
I mean, scalpers have always been a big problem. Video games, card games, board games. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
The thing is like the Pokemon cards at McDonald's they're coming back out.
Yeah.
They're going to be inside boxes of cereal.
Yeah.
To help celebrate the 25th anniversary. McDonald's was just able to negotiate a deal to where, hey, we wanted to be able to give out samples of these. That's why it was only a 2-day event, and that's why scalpers went up and went crazy. And like I was watching videos of people spending $3,000 going, because like they would go in and go, hey, I want to buy all these, and like, oh, you have to buy your kids meals, so they would literally spend $3,000 on kids meals just to get. I'm just like, dude.
McDonald's is over there. We're the ones who are winning today. I just the thing that I don't understand too is like, you know, I know Magic the Gathering has a lot of money in cards that are very valuable. I'm not as versed in that, aside from like everyone knows what the Black Lotus is.
Yeah, the one that just sold for $500,000.
No, I saw that and I was like, I want to meet the guy who bought it because I just want to see how happy he is. Because you know that story, right? He probably played in the 90s, went to college, got filthy rich. He's like, man, I really want to...
Actually, from what I've seen online, the guy never touched Magic in his life.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
I know.
Why did he buy it then? Investment?
Yeah.
Well, that makes it less fun.
Oh, I know.
I was hoping it was like some guy who, you know, grew up playing and then he went and became like a software genius or something like that and could just go drop $500K on like his childhood memories. Yeah. That's a bummer. But the thing that I don't understand about like this McDonald's 25-year promo is like the reason why a lot of these cards are so expensive is because we can't find a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know if scalpers realize that when you go and buy all of these cards out, I really don't think these are going to be worth any money because they're not going to be rare.
So they are going to be rare as long as the scalpers are intelligent about it. So they go out and buy all of them up.
They hold the market.
Yeah, they hold the market, and then they go, cool, here's one. How much are you going to pay for that one? $20. Okay, cool. Now here's another one. After that one's sold.
I just feel like, I guess what I mean though is like, scalpers are like the peak that I've ever seen it before.
Oh yeah, they are.
So it's going to be really hard. Like, I mean, I even knew friends who now have gotten into the Pokemon craze because of everything that's going on, and they went and bought the cards. So I'm thinking like, they're not going to be in communication with anyone else. They're just going to try and start selling them. So I just feel like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot because, I mean, maybe in like 5 years, these cards, like everyone's like, oh, yeah, remember the 25-year anniversary cards? Maybe they'll start popping up, but...
yeah, so like there's only one that's worth money right now, and it's still only worth like $27.
Which one's that?
It's a holographic Pikachu that you can get from it.
Okay.
Because there's only, what is it? It's like 16 cards in the entire set.
Right.
You get 3 per pack when you open it, and one's a guaranteed foil, and the others aren't.
Right.
So like the Pikachu foil is going for like $27 on eBay right now, and that's what everybody's trying to get. Is like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend $3,000 to get this, and
hope that
yeah,
you can pull a bunch of Pikachus.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But I mean, that's the thing with most scalpers and most people that are buying Pokemon now is, oh, that Charizard in this set's going to be $300. I have to go buy a bunch of boxes so I can try and get that Charizard.
Yeah.
What they don't do is they don't do the math.
Right.
Okay. The Charizard is not a guarantee. The Pikachu is not a guarantee. So you spend $3,000 and you get no Pikachu. How much money did you just make?
Right. No, and on top of that too, like when we get those chase cards, there's usually not much else in the set that you're like super thrilled about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Because what was the most recent one? The Champion's Path.
Yeah.
I bought a couple of those recently, and I ended up pulling one of the Charizards. If I didn't pull a Charizard, $50 down the drain each time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm torn on what I want to do, because for me, it's just fun again. I'm like, opening the packs. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm fucking 15 again, like going to the store with the small amount of paychecks I'm making from working and buying up cards. And because I used to play Pokemon too, which a lot of these people, Pokemon's not popular to play much anymore.
No, I mean, there's a big market for the kids playing and stuff like that, but nowadays adults are mainly going out buying it to get that $300 Charizard or the $150 this card or $50 that card and try to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I just spent $50, but I got this $25. I got these two $50 cards in it, so now I'm making a $50 profit.
Right.
But again, it's how long you're going to sit on it, how fast is it actually going to sell. Because the only people that are actually buying this are the parents of the kids that play, or the hardcore adults that actually still go to tournaments and play themselves.
Yeah, which is a very small minority nowadays. I mean, I sold one card like a couple years ago to a player, and all he wanted was like, he wanted his deck to look the best, so he wanted full arts of everything, and I was like, yeah, I respect that. You gotta go for what you want. No,
but like I had a guy bring in a collection of Pokemon cards a while ago. It was all cards from 1990 through the 90s stuff, base set to fossil,
right?
In jungle. Okay, it sells as a complete collection for about $4,000. I paid the guy $200 for it.
Let's go.
Well, that's the thing is, I told him exactly how much it was worth. I told him how long I'm going to sit on it. This was a year ago that I bought it.
Yeah,
I'm still sitting on it because I don't want to separate it because people are going to buy the expensive cards that they want,
and then you're going to be left with just a pile of cards that no one wants.
So I want to sell the entire collection for all at once, but nobody wants to spend that $4,000 that it's worth. So
yeah, I get that, because I know that PSA grading is really popular right now with that too, and you know, it's, I don't know, it's just a weird time for.
So then the next problem you have is you have this problem like I was reading about earlier on Facebook, or actually just before I came here. The new Pokemon set came out today. Nobody has it, or not really. Every gaming store got gypped on how much they ordered, and so like there's a store here in Utah that was selling their boxes of Pokemon cards for $160.
Oh. Like the whole booster box for $160? That's really expensive for a drop day.
Yeah.
So does Pokemon realize what's going on and they're trying to now make the cards more difficult to get to?
No. The problem is like right now, all printers are having problems keeping up with stuff. Magic the Gathering is having the same issue with trying to keep up with their demand of prints and stuff like that. So with that, the companies themselves are having problems fulfilling their orders. And then the fact that you have the scalpers that go around and go, hey, I want all these big expensive stuff, so I'm going to go buy it. Like Champion's Paths, every store had them for a while, but then every scalper I've seen videos of people literally standing at Target waiting, and then as soon as the person comes out and puts 10 Champion Paths on,
scoop all of them. Now, I didn't realize that Pokemon dropped a new line today, and that makes sense because where I work, where my office is at, is right next to Oasis Gaming. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. And when I was walking in, I looked over because they share like the same lot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a line out the door, and I was like, "Why is there people waiting for the door to open?" And I thought like, "Oh, I wonder if something dropped today." I thought maybe Magic had a new drop or Pokemon, but I didn't realize. And there was probably, this was at 10. I don't know what time they open. There was probably 15 people waiting.
Yeah, they opened at about 11 o'clock or so.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking a game store that's kind of well known for the most part. I mean, Oasis Gaming is fairly known, but there was 10 people waiting, 15 people waiting for them to open, and that's one person can buy up the whole inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird.
The thing is stores don't care, or most stores don't care if one person buys it or if 20 people buy it.
No.
I'm the opposite. I'd rather have people be happy than sell it as scalpers. So
I respect that too, because I feel, when I go look for cards, I won't buy bulk because I'm like, what if a little 11-year-old comes in here and he's like wanting a Champions Path pack because he sees it on TikTok or something.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to get it.
Yeah.
I don't want some guy who's like, I could get a $1,300 Charizard. Like, I respect hustle. Don't get me wrong. Like, if your hustle is to go and do this, like, do you, but you definitely have to realize like the bigger impact that you're having.
That's why, like, when a new Magic set drops or anything else drops, that like I have D&D guys that I literally call up and go, "Hey, I'm getting 4 copies of this book with a special artwork. For you guys, it's gonna be $50, and after that, it's gonna be about $100 for the book." When Magic comes out, I literally text tomorrow morning. I'm gonna be texting a bunch of people going, "Hey, this new set comes out on March 13th or March 19th. Who all wants one?" And
right. So do you get? I guess this is more of like a back end question. So when a new set's coming out, do you get limited on how much you can purchase like day one? Okay. So like you can't just be like, hey, I want to buy 10 booster boxes.
Yeah, no. So gaming companies like that actually do allocations based on performance of cells and gameplay, and other things that happen in store, like gameplay and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So like Wizards of the Coast before the pandemic, actually every time somebody would come in and play Magic the Gathering, I'd actually log onto a program, put it in, saying, today, 15 people came in and played Magic.
Okay, so you're actually keeping track of your statistics in hopes that you can get more.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Pokemon's the same way, where every game that's played there, every win and loss is kept track of, so that way they can keep track of how many people and if it's worth investing more product into your store.
That's kind of cool. I actually didn't know that.
So,
for everyone who didn't know that, that's good information. I mean, because I know that Pokemon and Magic is very like when you go to a store to play. I knew that they keep track of like how good you're doing, like your win loss, like different things like that. I always thought that was just for personal, like because I know like in Pokemon specifically, if you get to a certain like win loss, like you're doing really well, you can actually get invited to go play in like league play.
Magic's the same way.
Okay.
But yeah, so now they keep track of how many people play in store, how often they play, how often you get new players. All goes into how much stuff you can actually order on day one.
That's cool.
That's why I've always said you should support your local game stores, because if you really want to get access to like Pokemon, if you want access to the Pokemon stuff that the scalpers are going out and buying, your local game store should be your first stop to playing, buying, stuff like that, because that's all stuff that the game stores report back and go, hey, we just sold on day one, sold 30 boxes of the new Pokemon set. We had 400 people who were playing Pokemon. Now the next time they go order, they can go, oh, you guys can order now 50 of these boxes.
Right. So take that advice, everyone. If you really are into Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh even, and and you're like, man, I wish my store carried more product, tell your friends to start going.
Yeah.
Get everyone there and just play. Like, is it based off like a monthly thing? So like,
so it's based off of every month or every day. We the stores report them, and then when the new sets come out, they look at the previous month's worth of gameplay or previous few months worth of gameplays and sees how many people play and buy and stuff like that. And then like Wizards of the Coast now is actually asking how many boxes you sold on day one
Oh wow, interesting.
of Magic the Gathering. So every time a new set is released, after the what they call pre-release weekend, which is the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before the actual release of the thing, they send me an email going, "How many boxes did you get? How many did you sell? How many people were playing? How many people this? How many?"
And then that is where they base off of like.
It's starting to, yeah.
Interesting. Is that on your like back end? Is that like a highly competitive thing with other stores, or is it kind of like a mutual like?
So depends on the people. Like up where I'm at, we have a total of three other gaming stores besides mine that do the whole tabletop gaming stuff. Me and two of the others actually are really great friends. We talk with each other. One of them actually, two of them have given me advice and helped me out and stuff like that. The other one, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little more competitive and stuff like that. I've talked actually. Sorry, there's four other game stores because I probably about Game Grid and Game Den, so that's five.
Yeah.
Game Den up there, I've not talked to the owners of that one. Game Grid, I've talked to the owners of. They're really nice and friendly. They've even sat down and given me advice.
Oh, awesome.
So most of us are actually really cultural with each other and help each other out, some people to each other all the time. There's only like two of us that two stores that any of us actually have problems with.
Well, you would think too, like you'd want to be on good terms with everyone because, like, you know, your customer base might all know each other. So, like, if your customer base starts talking bad about one store because of whatever goes through the grapevine, you want to be the one store that they're talking good about.
And that's why I've always reached out to my fellow store owners up there. Like there's two other gaming stores that sell video games, right, with the vintage and retro video games.
Yeah,
I know both of them. I know both the owners. I've hung out with one of them personally several times. I talk to them on a regular basis, and we send each other people all the time. And I call up when I have customers asking for stuff if I don't have it.
Right. I mean that's
so yeah. There's another, and then the Lego stuff. There's another Lego store up there. I send people to his store, but me and him are not on good terms. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
As far as it comes across to me, like I'd love to be able to talk to him and hang out with him and stuff like that and whatnot. But he's usually standoffish when I'm trying to talk to him. But he's still a nice guy in my opinion, and I'd still support his store and send people to him.
Competition's a weird thing. A lot of people can flourish in it and be positive, and a lot of people it stresses them out, and they just feel like anyone's trying to take their money, I guess you could say. I see that a lot with like networking stuff that I do is like everyone always says the best form of it is like being cooperative with your competition, like being friends with your competition, because like you said, like what if someone comes in and you don't have the one specific item that they're looking for, but you know down the street someone else does, you go give them business and you're like, oh wow, return the favor. You know, instead of like if you don't have that one item, but you know this dude who's been kind of an asshole does, probably not going to send him over.
Oh yeah.
You know? So it's definitely, I think you're playing your cards right on that, Phil, because why burn bridges that don't need to be burned?
Oh yeah. No, and I actually want to, like, for Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, when they actually are able to do in-store gameplays and all that stuff, I actually want to set up multi-store tournaments where we get like teams from each store together and go, hey, let's see whose store has the best.
I like that a lot. That'd be fun to be a part of because like that could just be like some wholesome like store versus store competition. Like who's your top guy?
Yeah.
How does he stack up? Like I mean, I imagine you guys could do like prizes too. Like
oh yeah, no, because I haven't thought about it. Go do the whole kind of round robin type tournament. Have it be a multi-week, monthly tournament or multi-month tournament kind of thing, where they bounce from store to store playing. That way, each store gets the advertisement of, hey, you know, this week we're doing this and hosting a tournament here.
Yeah, that would be fun. Because, yeah, that would be great because when you're hosting a tournament, right, I imagine a lot of the money you make is off of stuff that you sell on top of that. Like, if you do, like, food and drinks and different things like that, like, you're onto something with that. Have you reached out to any other stores?
Not yet, because with the store play kind of band right now, it's kind of hard to do.
Right.
So I'm hoping as soon as the store... I'm actually hoping it gets lifted soon so I can actually talk to them beforehand and be like, hey.
Right.
Because like with Wizards of the Coast, we get acknowledged. We got told about a month and a half advance before the previous soft opening of gameplay last year.
Right.
And that lasted all 2 weeks. So I'm hoping we get about another month or two heads up so I can actually talk to them and we can try to set it up and whatnot.
I'm curious too what your return's going to look like, because I feel like the people who are in my circles that are into Magic or Pokemon, they've been fiending. They want to get back in there. So I'm curious how big of a spike you're going to get that first announcement of like, hey, it's back. Mm-hmm. That's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting, especially considering they're talking about getting rid of paper standard.
Can you explain that?
So standard play is the main play of Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. And Wizards of the Coast has determined that they actually make more money and better turnouts on the Magic Arena game app and download game that you can get on the computer than they do on paper turnouts of in-store tournaments.
Oh.
So they're going to talking about making it where you actually just play on Arena for like Friday Night Magic is going to be strictly digital. And the tournaments are going to go strictly digital too, is what they're talking about doing.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that look for cards then?
Cards will still be fine because you still have your Commander players, your Modern, your Pioneer, your Pauper, your Legacy, your Vintage. Because I mean, there's still like 7 to 8 other formats out there that use paper that Wizards isn't going to touch for the digital format because that'll just be too much work of implanting. Because like Vintage is every card from the original.
Right.
In the game, Legacy's just as far back. Commander is actually every card, every set in the every release with a small ban list.
So it'd be hard to like manage that on a system.
Well, that and it'd be hard. It'd be people going, "Hey, I have these like 90,000 cards. Now you want me to go play on here?"
Right. That would be.
Which means they have to rebuy all those cards and re-get them all and whatnot.
Might be beneficial for Wizards of the Coast financially, but I feel like that would piss off a lot of people. So is standard kind of like the main one that like if I were to go play at a store for like points?
That's what most stores that's what the point most tournaments are based off of is standard. Commander is the second most played format now. Being a format that was made up by bored people.
That is what I've heard. So I kind of had Commander explained to me, but like I said, when I found out about it, I was mid-COVID, so I haven't been able to go and actually play.
So Commander is a really good format. I learned Standard, and then I learned Commander all in the same day, and I much preferred Commander over Standard.
Okay.
The fact that you have 100 card decks, everybody has a 100 card deck, so it's not hey, that person has a 60 card deck, and that person has a 40 card deck, and this person has a 100 card deck.
Right.
Everybody has the exact same amount of cards, and you're limited to what you can put into your decks based on what your Commander colors are. Mm-hmm. You're also limited down to 1 copy of each card instead of 4 copies, unless the cards say otherwise. So it's just so much more fun and so much more. Even in a casual format, you can still make it competitively.
Right.
To where it's fun, but not overpowered. Everybody's overpowered.
Right. That's always the fear is, because the kid that I was talking to who plays, he was building it was like a control artifact deck. Mm-hmm. And he's all like, people don't like playing against me because I make it so their cards can't do anything. And I'm like, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. So the fun part about Commander is control decks do work, but not as well as they do in like a modern deck or a standard deck.
Gotcha.
Because with those you can have 4 copies of every card that controls the game, and Commander you have 1 copy of that card that controls the game. So you have to have like 8 different versions of that card instead of.
See, when I was playing, I was abusing the Slither meta when that was like
Slivers.
Yeah, Slivers. I was playing when that meta was at the peak, and that was.
Oh, it's still at the peak.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's the thing is like if you build your deck properly with Slivers, it's and the fact that some of the cards that they just came out with just make it even better.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good news because like when I stopped playing the next. I don't know the terminology. The next expansion.
Next set, yeah.
Kind of did away with them because a lot of people were like kind of tired of playing against them. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that they're back because it was.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, they released a set that had a few Slivers. They haven't really done any other slivers since then, but they've released cards that make the sliver decks just so much better. It's actually one of my decks that I run.
Yeah? Oh. It's just, I don't know, there was something about it because I did like a mass. Like, I would just try and mass.
Yeah.
And it would just get out of hand if I pulled the right card.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, with cards that they come out with, it's just so much easier to mass now.
Yes.
Yeah, I just redid my deck because I got tired of doing the combo, but I had my combo in my silver deck that allowed me to play my silvers for free.
What?
Yeah.
that would be so... If you got that, like, first draw, that'd be... Yeah. That's a win, right? I mean,
so it required about 8 mana to do it. But, yeah, I mean... My deck was set up to where by turn 5 I had enough mana and I had the stuff in hand to do it. So by turn 6 I'm just dropping sliver and whatnot. Then like one sliver that came out with like a year and a half ago was called First Sliver, which gave me Cascade.
Really?
Yeah. So it's literally, hey, I'm casting this sliver, now I'm going to reveal cards until I reveal another non-land spell, and I get to cast that for free. And when your entire deck's nothing but slivers for the most part, it's just like, yeah, sliver.
Oh my god. Because that was my favorite part, is like, I wish I still had my deck because I would just show you. It was literally a deck where, like, if I got the right card, it just churned into the next turn I have 7 on the field, and it's over. Like, you can't stop.
My record right now in one turn is getting 35 slivers on each field.
For those of you who don't know Magic, that is a lot. Was that in Commander?
Yeah.
So that's a third of your deck. Oh my god, that's so awesome. I'm gonna have to come back. When you have my information now. When you get a release date, I'm coming back.
Okay.
Now, but this goes into my next question that I wanted to talk to you about, because I got told, well, I think I actually found out on your website that you do D&D.
Yes.
Okay. I have been dying to jump into D&D for, you can ask my chat, since I started doing streaming and podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an aspiration of potentially streaming D&D?
So yes, me and a group that about 2 years ago, we're actually talking about doing streaming. We actually streamed one episode of our D&D game, and then half our group decided that they couldn't do it anymore because we were hiring somebody to come in and do the sound engineering and stuff like that, and it was only $100 a session, so it was going to be
bad.
Yeah, so it was going to be $400 a month that we were going to have to pay them. And we were trying to split it evenly between everybody, and it was like, yeah, we can't do it. We're struggling right now and all that. So it was like, okay, cool. We've actually been talking about setting up a room in the store now that with the revamps that we've done to actually set up a streaming room for doing Magic and D&D.
That would be pretty awesome.
We actually also want to do like a nerd podcast type of thing like this and other things like that too. So.
Well, I would like to extend the olive branch and be helpful in that, because I have, for a long time now, wanted to break into D&D and start streaming it, and having it be like a, kind of like you said, like a once a month, like get everyone together and push out a campaign for the evening.
Yeah.
You know, do like however many hours we could go, and then, you know, whatever, if we wanted to do like a long form campaign or like a new one each week or each month or whatever it is. Because like do you watch any D&D?
I do watch quite a few of them actually.
Yeah, so I got put on D&D really hard by Heroes and Halfwits. They're the Rooster Teeth one.
Yeah.
And then they had like branched off shows that were really good. And then obviously Dan Harmon's is top quality.
Oh yeah.
I would love to be able to get into a situation where I was doing something like that. But here's the problem. I've never played.
Never?
Never played.
Well, we're going to change that.
I've had one opportunity to go and play, and I was super excited. And when I got there, we were waiting for our DM to show up, and he was like, hey, I'm running a little late. 3 hours later, hey, I can't make it. And no one else had DM experience. So I've been actually trying to learn how to DM to start my own group, but
So
if I had to explain how hard it is to get to become a DM without ever doing it,
I would recommend playing first.
Yeah.
And learning the basics, and then going into that. Because when I learned to play D&D, I thought about. I was like, I after my first session, I was like, I want a DM.
Yeah.
And I was like talking to people, and I was like, oh, it's actually harder than a DM.
Yeah, and that's what I'm starting to find out is you really have to be able to commit hours and hours and hours to a campaign, figuring out what you need to do, how to make things interact. It's not just plug and play.
No, it's figuring out how to make the story arc of it, trying to figure out how your players are going to screw up your story, your plan that you're doing.
Right.
Because no character is ever going to go, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and do this thing that the DM wants us to do.
Right. And I heard that bards are the worst.
Yeah. Well,
because the bard player always tries to mess things up.
I don't know. I have a sorcerer warlock that likes to mess things up in my games.
See, I want to do I want to find a group that is semi-serious, meaning they want to play D&D.
Mm-hmm.
They want to push the story, but I also want it to be we're pretty much role playing our characters.
Yeah.
To me, that's what sounds really fun. I want to be a chaotic evil character and just be a dick. Yeah. Black nerds. That's what I want to do.
So I'm going to tell you right now, most players and DMs won't allow chaotic evil.
Okay. Well,
or chaotic evil and chaotic neutral are the two archetypes that are usually off limits on playing.
Fair.
Just because chaotic evil usually really messes up the game and makes it no fun for the DM or the players.
Right.
And chaotic neutral is a very hard one to do because you have to be yeah, I'm going to do this really crazy thing, but it's just for the fun of it,
not because I'm evil, not because I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I whatever the play is, I just want to be able to really immerse myself in a character that is fun.
Yeah. So luckily here in Utah, we have one of the biggest groups I've ever seen for D&D.
Really?
Yeah. So you have Adventure League, which is the ones that do all the conventions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Adventure League is the play that you could literally build a character here in Utah and then go over to Japan and play the same character.
What?
Yeah. It is deemed professional play for D&D by Wizards of the Coast.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can actually create an account on Wizards and items and stuff like that. So that way if you go to a convention down in Florida, you can go, yeah, you know what, it's on the trust system, but they can, if they don't trust that you have all that stuff, pull it up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, you do have it.
Okay, I didn't realize they had stuff like that.
I didn't know that either until I actually learned to play D&D.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of, I always thought your character was just kind of sectioned to whatever.
2 books and that's it. Whereas there's, I think they're up to 7 books now that have character building stuff. So you have to use only 2 of them. And I think at least at one point, at least one of the books was off limits for Adventure League. So you're out of the 6 books, you're limited to 5, and you can only use 2 of them actually.
Interesting. So what? Okay, let's talk an actual plan. If you wanted to team up and maybe do a stream, start a stream for D&D, would you want to do it more in that Adventure League where we could have? Or
no, I would rather do homebrew because I love the homebrew stuff that gives the players more advantage of designing the characters the way they want to play it,
right? Not
just by strict rules. And plus with that, it allows the characters to be a little more free-flowing and the DM to be a little more free-flowing instead of, okay, this book says we do this. And
right, so it turns into more creativity versus a arrow that you got to kind of follow.
Yeah, because it also makes the DM, if you do the free play or homebrew stuff, it makes the DM and allows the DM to be more free-flowing with the ideas of the story. Because I just got done DMing my second campaign earlier this year, or late last year, and I literally went into that campaign with an idea, and within 4 sessions of the game, my idea was shot down. So I had to, right off the bat, right after that 4th session, I was like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Yeah, what do you guys want to do?
I love it. So do you sell dice and different things like that?
We sell dice, miniatures, books, stuff like that. We usually have DM screens, but we don't carry too many of those because most DMs that are DMing have them, or somebody usually has them. So the DM screens are kind of a redundant thing to carry around for the most part. And then like I had a DM that didn't even use a DM screen; he used his laptop to keep track of everything. And
that's impressive. That's when I was looking into it, like DM screens, like they say, like if you don't have one, it's really difficult.
Yeah, no, he had everything on his laptop and books and all that, so he was just like, yeah, okay.
Listen, everyone who is either watching live or on all the other services, if you want to see this, please let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to do it.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to do a streaming for like several years now.
And I'm definitely not an audio engineer by any stretch or a sound engineer.
Yeah.
But I think with enough brains setting up, like enough people working together, and you having a dedicated room, I feel like we could get something that would look pretty great.
Oh yeah.
You know, visually, and I think the sound. Because I use Yeti, and Yeti has like pretty good sound for room collective.
Yeah. And that actually we used a Yeti for recording purposes for a DM game, a couple sessions that I was actually playing in just before the pandemic hit.
Okay, yeah.
And we actually recorded those, and they actually turned out really well. So
yeah, and that I really think that I don't think we would need to hire anyone because.
No, as long as we get everything set up and actually sound decent, it's.
Because see, the thing that I have too is I have. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that there's nothing wrong. Oh, okay. I have people who text me while the show's going just to make sure stuff is sounding proper still. I have a group of people who have come on where the conversation gets to D&D and they're like, man, I would play. So that could also be a potential benefit is having, other guests come in when either regulars can't show up or maybe we just want to add another person because that could be, someone who on the business side comes in, buys dice, miniatures, different things like that. But then also bringing in different perspectives for the stream so people can get to know new people. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's an aspect we've always wanted to do and just need to find the time and the ways to set it up.
Yeah. Well, we can start brainstorming because I really want to do that.
Okay.
Now, as far as like your business goes, do you have, I guess this is an interesting question, but do you have employees? Do you have like...
So it's just me.
Just you?
Yeah. My wife works, helps out every once in a while when she's not working her job. Because we thought about having her quit and help out and just work the store full time with me, but she actually likes her job, so I was just like, screw it.
Well, she likes what she does.
Yeah. Then we have a few people that actually volunteer and help out every once in a while at the store. We were on the verge of hiring people until the pandemic, of course. And then even with that, we actually looked good. Whereas this year, if everything goes on track, we should be able to hire somebody this year.
Awesome.
Unless they raise the minimum wage.
Yeah, then that kind of turns into you're probably gonna have to stick with volunteers and because I mean I think that would be an awesome job for someone who's either looking for like either a part-time gig or like something that can maybe learn the tools of the trade to open their own thing because but with the minimum wage goes up to 15, that's gonna be hard to manage.
That's a debate I've been having with a lot of people lately. Yeah,
because I mean it's. I don't know. I don't want to talk about politics or anything like that, but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. That'd be hard to have employees on staff and have to pay them $15 an hour.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what I'd be paying them anyway, but being forced to pay them and then deem myself as having to pay that myself too, that's where the problem lies. Yeah. Whereas right now I can just say, I pay myself $200 a month, a week, and then I pay this guy.
Right. No, I mean that. So do you? Now you're the whole business owner. You don't have any like.
Nope, no partners, no nothing. It's just me.
I'm telling you guys listening how impressive that actually is because you're like, rent's not cheap where we live.
No.
I don't care what part of Utah you live in, you're paying a good chunk of change for rent, and to be able to do what you love doing, and have a retail store and still come out on top, like.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's. You don't hear those stories much anymore.
No. Yeah. And it's thanks to other business people I've met and I talked with while doing this and giving me advice has actually helped out a lot too.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, shout out Morgan.
Yes, Morgan.
I know you're probably listening, or you will listen. Good guy. Go check him out. Next Level Humans, Monarch Social. I guess like the final couple questions that I have for you is like, because we kind of covered everything we wanted to cover just in a roundabout way. In your eyes, like, let's say 2021 goes exactly how you want it to go, right? Like everything opens back up. You can start hosting again. You can start bringing in Pokemon, tournaments, Magic, and all of that. What would you want, like, what would be your next big step? Like, aside from, like, in a new employee, would you actually ever want to open a second location?
Actually, we've actually thought about that. Before we open up a second location, there's actually another aspect that I would actually like to add on to my business, and that's actually a cafe or a coffee shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
We actually want to get into a location where we can actually have a nerd cafe, nerd shop, a coffee shop, or just like a bagel shop or food shop kind of thing. And just have it just nerdy themed with all kinds of stuff. And I have a professional chef friend of mine that's actually offered to help me with the menu and how to make everything and whatnot. That
right there would be killer, because I only know one other place that is doing something similar to that, which is the Game Haven here in Bountiful. But it's different because it's super confusing when I found it out. Battleground Coffee is in Game Haven, but they're two separate entities. But they will you can order from a employee. I don't know.
Yeah.
It really interesting stuff, but
yeah, I know Oasis has a coffee area, but I don't think it's ever open.
Yeah, I don't
think
it's
never opened there when I was there.
No, I think that'd be awesome, because especially if you could cater two specific items that would be fun for someone who's there. Like if you could make a Magic bagel somehow, have it either be printed or whatever. I think stuff like that would be really cool. And I love, personally, I'm a coffee drinker, so if I'm gonna go do a night of Magic or whatever it might be, a long night of D&D, if I could go and drink 2 coffees while I'm there, easy.
Yeah, so that's the next big thing we want to do with the store. And then after that, and that's up and running and being successful, then we actually want to do a second location somewhere.
That's awesome.
I've seen other stores and stuff like that I thought about taking, snagging ideas from and having it being something similar, doing something similar to some of the other stores. But at the same time, I look at how they're doing and I don't see it working very well.
No.
Because there's a gaming shop in another state that has actually set up rooms in their store for rent. For people to actually move in, live there, and stuff like that.
Wait, okay, hold on. So run that back. So they have rooms almost like an apartment type room that you could rent that's in their store. Are we talking I walk in, right, and here's all the product, and then there's just separate room?
Yeah.
You on the same floor?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then in the same place, there's also showers. So if you just get off work and you want to go play some Magic or D&D or something like that, and you don't have time to go home and shower, you can go shower there.
I mean, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's a decent idea, but it just threw me off when I first saw it. And then half the guy's store is actually a convenience store set up. So it was okay.
I could see the benefit.
Yeah, he's trying to set it up, and in his words, is the same way if you go to Japan, you have a grocery store, you have your convenience store, which is your grocery store, you have apartments right there with it, and everything's in just one building type thing.
I can see his vision, right? And I don't think that that's necessarily bad.
No, I just don't see it working out as much as he wants it to.
No.
Because he just started doing allowing people to franchise it out, and I don't see it franchising out very well.
No, the reason why I don't see that being, I mean, depending where the state is, right? Because if you go East Coast, there's still areas that will have a Jimmy John's on the bottom floor, and then up top is all apartments.
Yeah.
that's kind of common.
Yeah,
but...
and that's actually being more coming up in the Clarkfield area too, is they're doing more and more buildings that way.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind doing a building like that and owning a building like that or something like that. But having it inside the store.
No, there's definitely I know that's relevant in Japan, but culturally here, I don't know, unless the rent was very cheap. I don't personally know anyone that would want to share like my living quarters with a running business.
Yeah.
You know, unless it was one of those situations where it's like, hey, you rent this out for $200 a month, you can live here, sleep here, do all that. Like that might actually be really nice for a lot of people who are struggling right now. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, my only concern would be about with all that is that one person that wakes up in the middle of the night while you're running a late night D&D game or Magic the Gathering game, and you walk out of their apartment because they're in their underwear or something like that.
Right. Like, oh, what's up, fellas?
Yeah.
I guess another question I wanted to ask, and this is more of like a broad cultural question. You know, we as nerds know that, and especially for a long time, it was mostly men, right? Like Magic is pretty men focused, D&D. Yeah. Have you seen the scale start to tip? Because I know in gaming, which I'm pretty involved in gaming, women are huge in gaming right now. Like gaming has become super.
So like the back when they were doing paper Magic tournaments and whatnot, 3 of the top 10 players were women.
Wow.
2 of which were in the top 5.
Which I don't think has ever been.
No. Pokemon wise, it's almost the exact same thing. I mean, some of the top players are women. So the women are actually taking over the gaming industry in aspects of coming in, showing up the guys, and like, yeah, no, I can do this, and I can do it better than you.
The reason why I asked that is I've noticed that, and it's super exciting because for a long time, like, you know, you grew up gaming and being involved in you know card games, and it was always mostly men, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, but in the past couple of years, I've definitely noticed like Pokemon specifically, Magic a little bit, and gaming a lot. That we're finally starting to get to the point where it's everyone's kind of conversing.
Oh yeah.
So I was curious to see if like you've noticed that.
Yeah, I've noticed it, and I'm actually really happy about it. I've actually talked to several women about it and what's made them be more out and upfront about gaming and stuff like that. And it's actually the fact that there's now more people talking up about the different things that go on with the female gamers.
Yeah.
And like I've actually put rules in my place that if any female gamer or even just a female customer comes in and feels uncomfortable, I'm kicking out my customers.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important because I think too now that like gaming, Magic, Pokemon, all these D&D, it's now super culturally accepted, right? Because I remember like when I was a young gamer, I didn't tell people I was a gamer. No. You would get bullied.
Oh yeah.
Like I watch anime. If I told people I watched anime growing up, not a good outcome.
Yeah.
You know, now everyone's about it. So it's cool to finally start seeing like more people who love doing it finally going out and doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, back when I was in school, I was the tallest kid in the grade and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you know, you're really a class bully, huh?" I was like, "No, I like anime." "Oh, you like anime? Yeah, we're gonna beat you up."
Right. Do you follow anime now?
Oh yeah, I'm a big anime fan.
Oh, let's go. I know. Let's see what time we're at before we get into the anime talk, because we can talk about anime for a while.
Oh yes.
Hour and 38. That's actually time flies. Do you want to shoot for 2?
Yeah.
Okay, let's shoot for 2. I actually do an anime podcast as well, and that's going live tomorrow at 5:30, which is going to be a good time. So, the question I always ask people when we get in the anime world, what got you into it?
Truthfully, the artwork.
Oh, I like that. I don't hear that often.
So, like, I mean, as a kid, you watch cartoons, of course, because that's what you're drawn to, because you prefer the colorful things and the action of that and whatnot. As I got older, and I still kept watching cartoons and the animes and stuff like that, it was more the artwork than anything else, because watching especially Japanese animation was so much prettier and better looking than the U.S. animation ever did.
Way better.
So as time went on, I started watching more and more animes just to see their artwork, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's actually a storyline for this.
Right. No, I agree with you. So like I said with gaming, like my dad was a gamer. He was also like lightly into anime. So I remember like growing up, like watching the first one, like a lot of people my age, like Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
Everyone watches Dragon Ball Z. But what really put me into like loving anime, Cowboy Bebop. I think that was the first show I watched where I was like, oh, anime is like a big deal, you know? Because it just like, it's so, for anyone who hasn't seen Cowboy Bebop, I recommend that one, even if you don't,
Oh yeah.
if you aren't into anime, because it's awesome. But it was like the first show I watched where I'm like, this is cool as hell. Like, the story, the characters, like, everyone is cool. Like, if you were to think of like, who is cool, it's all the characters in Cowboy Bebop.
Spike from that series was awesome.
Yeah. Plus, Ein is.
Oh yeah.
I have wanted a corgi my whole life because of Ein, but that's a different fact. So, are you up to date with like current anime?
So I don't watch as much anime as I would like to with me owning my business and stuff like that. I've been listening to anime as I play with Legos lately. But that's the first time I watched 5 different animes in the past month by listening to it.
Yeah.
Not been actually able to watch it too much. But I've been on a kick of watching the video game based animes.
Okay, so like Sword Art and
so like Sword Art Online is the one that got me on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been watching a lot of the other like there's like defensive. God, I can't remember all of it because it's like a really long title. It's like 30 words or something like that. But it's about a girl that plays a game kind of like Sword Art Online, where she just maxes out her defense. And it's like, and just watching it was like, or listening to it was like, it's like hilarious listening to. So I'd have to flip over every once in a while and watch it and go, oh yeah, no, I'm working.
Right. Chat says, yo, OMG anime, I watched Ben 10. Yo, I know that you're joking, but Ben 10's kind of dope. It was dope when I watched it.
So the original Ben 10 series was awesome.
Yeah.
The sequel series to it was great. Everything afterwards, I absolutely did not like.
I didn't know that they made anything after the sequel series.
Yeah, so there was like 5 or 6 different Ben 10s.
Oh, see, I had never got that deep. I watched the original when it was coming out, and then I watched the follow-up sequel series, and then I fell out of it.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 10 Ben 10 series, and they're chronological, so they're all part of the same show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like leading up to Ben being an adult, or not really adult, but like a teen, almost adult's age.
Interesting.
But like the artwork on it gets horrible after a while.
Because that's the reason why I thought Ben 10 was cool. Is like the artwork for being an American cartoon was actually pretty solid.
Yeah, like they tried to go massively childish with one of the Ben 10 cartoons.
You know, I see that trend a lot. I don't get it. Like, you know, because I grew up watching, like, when we're talking like cartoons like Ed, Edd n Eddy, Courage, you know, Dexter's Lab, all those different types of shows. And I don't know when the switch happened, but they made these cartoons here in America like seem super childish for some reason.
No, like, so I kind of first be older than you because I grew up watching Thundercats.
Hey, Thundercats is, I watched a lot of Thundercats. I'm 26.
I'm 34.
Okay, so yeah, we definitely.
I'm actually 35 tomorrow.
Oh, hey, happy early birthday!
Thank you. But yeah, no, when they did the remake of the second remake of the Thundercats, I was actually excited about it because I was like, cool, you know, they're going to do another Thundercats. I liked the first one. The second one was actually halfway decent. And then they came out with that one, and it was like it looked like a child drew it. Yeah. And I was just like, nope, I can't watch this.
Well, and the original Thundercats drawing and all of its animation is awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very like, because like there was definitely that like He-Man aesthetic for Thundercats, but not as over the top. Because He-Man was very like, you know, I don't know how to word it. He-Man was interesting, but
no, but yeah, Ben 10 was a good series. I liked it.
Last Airbender was good.
Actually, I loved watching that one. I actually got my daughter to watch that one in core with me, and she loved it.
Oh, that's funny.
Fact,
I love hearing that.
In fact, I went to go watch it without her, and she goes, "No, you're not watching it without me."
How old's your daughter?
She just turned 8 in October.
Oh, that's the perfect age to start dabbling in a little anime, sprinkling it in.
So we actually sat down and started watching that. Then we watched Phineas and Ferb after we watched all of.
Phineas and Ferb's a must.
Mm-hmm. Yes, after watching My Little Pony 20 million times, it's.
Oh. See, that was I never got into that one. I know that there's a large group of people who do still watch My Little Pony, and it's supposed to be pretty good. I never.
So My Little Pony was actually the series that my daughter got into was actually really good. I loved watching it. but just watching it 20 million times.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, we get the point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other anime that are like that. There's the one anime where they get sucked into their TV and they're like in a game.
Yeah.
That one was really good.
Yeah, there's about 8 different ones that I've watched in the past like month and a half or so that are video game based, where they either do deep dives like Sword Art Online or get trapped into the games. Like Overlord was another one that I loved. I think that came out like 2017, 15, and 2018.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about it until like last year.
No, yeah, I didn't know about Overlord. We actually did Overlord for our anime podcast. So how our anime podcast works is like a book club. So when we meet up, we talk about whatever one we did previously, and then someone picks one, and then we watch it and we come back and talk. So Overlord was one that we did, and that show's badass.
Oh yeah, did you guys actually watch all the way through?
We did the first season, but a couple of them watched all 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's a series I wish would have continued.
Yeah, well, I think they're talking about doing another season.
So, because they haven't done anything since 2018 with it.
Right. I heard a rumor that they might become, because they got picked up by that really popular gaming app, AFK Arena.
Oh yeah.
And they put, I can't remember the names. They put 3 characters in that game, and everyone's like, "That's a weird, like, out of nowhere. It's been like 2 years since Overlord's been relevant. Why did they do that?" So a lot of people think that they're in works with dropping a new season.
Oh, I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Death Note's another good anime.
Death Note's great. I am very tough on Death Note because I think that for the first 20 episodes, it's probably the best written anime, and then I feel like they really dropped the ball.
Yes, they did.
Those of you who haven't watched Death Note and are going to in the future, spoiler alert, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When they kill off L and they decide to then give us a new L without giving us any understanding why it's happening, that's where that show really fell off for me.
Yeah. What do you think of the live action versions of them?
I probably shouldn't have done those. I watched the one on Netflix and I didn't enjoy it too much.
Watch the Japanese version.
Better?
Yeah, so much better.
Okay, I'll do that because
they actually separated it into 2 separate movies.
Interesting. Yeah, I never watched I watched the very Americanized, whitewashed version.
Oh yeah, that was just horrible.
That was rough.
Yeah, no, the CGI work for the Japanese one isn't as good as the American one.
Okay.
I mean, because it's Japanese, it's Japanese, and they don't like to do the whole tough, good stuff. They like to make it look kind of cheesy just because it's more fun. But yeah, the Japanese live action is so much better.
Okay, I will give that one a watch because I actually didn't even know they made a Japanese live action.
Yeah, most people don't.
I heard they also did a Japanese live action of Attack on Titan.
They did.
Have you watched that?
I have not.
I've been trying to find someone who I know who's actually watched it because I don't want to commit the time yet. Because there's something about live action when it comes into anything gaming or anime.
Oh, yeah.
Where 90% of it's not great.
No.
So I'm trying to find someone who's seen the live action Attack on Titan to at least know if I should invest the 2 hours of time.
Yeah. No. Here shortly I'm actually going to be sitting down with my daughter because I have 2 of these binders of like the whole like 500 DVDs, just completely full of anime.
Yes.
And then I have another 3 that hold horror movies.
That's a couple years down the road where you're like, hey, welcome to horror.
I watched my first horror movie at the age of 3.
See, I watched my first one when I was, it was Scream. That was scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. No, I mean, the fact that I'm named after 2 of the characters.
Wait, what do you mean?
Jason Voorhees. So when I was born, my mother, I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so my mother actually looked at my older siblings and went, "I'm done naming kids. You guys get choose a name."
What?
Yeah. So my oldest brother chose Jason, and my oldest sister chose Michael.
I mean, you have to like horror then.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no way around it. Okay, let's dabble in horror then for a little bit because we get on anime. I know we could talk anime for a whole podcast. What is good horror in your eyes, and what is bad horror in your eyes?
So the modern day horror that comes out now is, in my eyes, bad. I haven't liked most horror movies that have come out recently.
Okay.
I like ones that are like Saw is a great movie series in my opinion. Most people deny that to the dying breath.
I don't know why people would. I think Saw is definitely top tier.
I like the idea of the fact that you don't know who the bad guy is. You don't know how the traps actually work until it's too late.
See, for me, Saw, I think up to like three or four was really good, and then they made a couple that I was kind of like, okay. And then when they did Jigsaw, I was back in it. Yeah. I was like, I love it again.
Yeah, I'm wanting to see the new one that's coming out.
Oh, are they making another?
Yeah, it's called Spiral.
Is it a follow-up to Jigsaw?
Yeah. And it has, is it Jamie Foxx is in it? Or somebody else?
Really?
Yeah, there's a comedian in it that plays the main character.
Ooh.
Like, he plays the cop that's the main character trying to solve the crime now.
I like that idea.
They released a trailer for it like a year ago, and they just like, yeah, because of COVID, we're pushing it back now.
Of course. Okay, well, for New Age ones, then what do you think about like, I don't remember the director's name, but the guy who's done like The Witch, Midsummer, Hereditary. Where do you sit on those?
They're decent movies. I'm more for the psychological stuff. And I like just like, what's a good example? Hellraiser. Hellraiser is a fantastic psychological thriller, in my opinion, for horror movies.
I think Hellraiser is, for me, was the first, like when I watched, because I watched that one like when I was 10 or 11, which was not a good idea. That haunted me probably well into like my early teenage years. Because that movie is just, it hits on everything.
Another branch of horror movies I love is Stephen King's movies.
Yes.
I love his books. I love his movies.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they actually came out with a new series for the Stand book.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be sitting down and binge watching that here soon.
Yeah, it's on my list to go through.
But yeah, horror movies is one of those things that I can talk about for hours on end, just because they're fantastic things.
What do you think about Get Out and Us?
So Get Out was actually a really good movie. I liked the idea of it.
I like that one.
Us, when I first heard about it, I did like the idea of it. I didn't like the trailers of it because the whole aspect of having doppelgangers come out and kill their other halves or whatever just doesn't sit right with me.
It's weird, yeah.
But when actually watching it and seeing the ending of it and having it explained was actually genius in my opinion. I
agree with you. Because I felt the same way, like, and I was worried. I always get worried when horror movies specifically get a lot of hype, because like I'm like, okay, well, is it gonna be really that good? Like, because like for me, one of the worst horror movies I've seen in the past while was The Babadook.
I don't actually think I watched that one yet.
I was not. I mean, it has really high ratings, and I get from a critic's standpoint why that movie would be good, but from a horror fan standpoint, I don't think it's good. But I leave that to everyone to discuss.
I'm the same way with Paranormal Activity.
Interesting.
When those movies came out, everybody hyped them up. Every commercial you saw for it was, "Hey, look how scared they are! Look how scared they are!"
People had to leave the theater.
Yeah. I went and saw it. And I was just like, "Oh, cool! I'm gonna go sleep now."
I felt like Paranormal Activity was a really well done horror movie, but it was not this like end all be all. No. I'm devastated, like can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
Like people played it off to me. I was like, this is cool. Like they made a pretty decent horror movie for like $1,000.
Yeah.
Was it the scariest thing I've ever seen? Not even close.
No. And that's where I'm having problems with horror movies between that and remakes nowadays.
Oh yeah. Everyone's got to do a remake. I am excited. The guy who did Get Out and Us is remaking Candyman.
Yes. Actually, that's not a remake from what they're saying now.
Oh, it's gonna be like a follow-up, or
don't know if it's gonna be like a follow-up or a prequel or what.
Because he did get the original actor back.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with that.
Because once they signed him, they started making comments about it being tied to the other Candyman movies, which makes me more excited to see it then.
Yeah, because the original Candyman movies are
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah. Although there was a horror movie that I remake that I was actually excited for until they canceled it like 20 times.
Which one?
Hellraiser.
You know, I have been saying for the longest time, if a studio picked up Hellraiser and gave it the budget that it needs, because right, like the original Hellraiser was so good because the budget was high for the time.
Oh yeah.
The props and everything were just perfect. If they gave the budget and had a good story, even if they wanted to like copy the original story but give it a 2020, reflush, I think it could be so good.
Yeah. So they were actually planning a remake of Hellraiser. They had a director sign on and a script. And as they were signing up the cast, the director actually bailed out due to their obligations because it took so long to find a cast. By the time they found a new director, the cast had actually bailed out. Then the director wanted a new script written.
So it's just been this big circle.
Yeah, and it's just been going on and on and on. And then like they had the original guy that played Hellraiser or played Pinhead in the original Hellraiser signed on, and then he died.
Yeah. Well, and then didn't the original writer, hasn't he passed away? Wes Craven?
Yeah, Wes Craven passed away. His family owns a lot of that stuff now and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed out when Wes Craven passed away because I feel like because one of the last thing he did was like Midnight Meat Train, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like Midnight Meat Train was a fantastic little short horror.
Oh yeah. So that's one that I wish we'd get another remake to, or not remake, but a sequel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's your opinions on the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes?
Oh, I loved them.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like that's one of the few things I differ with other people because everybody's like, yeah, all these remakes are fantastic. Then they look at Rob Zombie's Halloween's and they're like, oh, this is horrible. It's like they made him human.
Yeah.
In the original Halloween movies, you had no explanation of why he was killing people other than, oh, he's a little bullied.
Yeah.
In this one, it's like, no, he was tormented in his family. He was tormented at school. He just had a breaking point.
Yeah, no, I felt like Rob Zombie really, like, I get it, like Rob Zombie, like his House of a Thousand Corpses, like different things like that are very over the top, like blood gore, rock metal type of vibe. And he definitely added that in Halloween with some of the scenes, like very over the top, like, graphic gore. But like you said, they gave a reason to why Michael Myers is Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Like, and I think they nailed like the serial killer, like persona, right? Because like when you get into like true crime, you realize there's a lot of trends.
Yeah.
And, like one of them is like killing and mutilating like animals when they're a child, and he hit on that.
Oh yeah.
Like aggressive outbursts, getting bullied, but like revenge input, right? Like his whole idea was like, wasn't in like the first scene when he got bullied, then he went and bashed one of the kids with a bat.
Yeah.
And that's serial killer mindset. Like,
yeah, I just wish Rob would quit putting his wife in every movie he makes.
Yeah, she doesn't need to be in them. I felt like she was fine in the House of a Thousand Corpse series, but she didn't need to be in Halloween.
No.
And see, and I actually didn't really care for the newest remake of Halloween.
Yeah, that one I didn't.
I didn't think.
So that one was the fact that the original owners of Halloween got the rights back to them.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, we want to not acknowledge any of the other ones.
Yeah.
So it literally goes Halloween, Halloween 2, and then this one that came out.
Yeah. And I don't know. I felt like what they did with the original lady, I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. How her character had turned out, like, it makes sense, right? Like, you'd probably turn out pretty off the cuff if that happened to you as a kid or as a teenager. But I felt like the way that she portrayed that character in this new one was too much. Like, too weird. I don't know. I really want a new Freddy movie, to be honest with you. A good one.
As long as they don't make him a child molester.
Yeah.
Like they did in the other remake.
Yeah, with, what's his butt who played him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, like that's the only problem I had with that movie was I was like, he wasn't a child molester, he was a child murderer.
Yeah.
He killed children.
Yeah, he murdered children. He didn't, and it was a weird additive, like.
Yeah.
I also just, maybe I need to go rewatch that one. I don't remember it being too scary either.
Not really. They etched on the scariness of it, but they tried to rehash too much of the original Nightmare on Elm Street stuff too.
Yeah, because I felt like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, even to this day, like, it's creepy.
Oh yeah.
The idea like sleep could kill you, like that hits on everybody. And the famous bed scene where is it Johnny Depp,
Yeah,
right?
that's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed and it's the blood fountain, like perfect horrors. And I feel like Freddy Krueger is such a great character that you could do a lot of good content with. Now with CGI, I don't know why they haven't pulled the trigger.
That one is also Wes Craven's thing, but they actually sold the rights to that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, New Line owns that. Actually, no, New Line sold it to Blue Bay Anchor owns it.
What do they do?
Horror movies.
Oh, just like
yeah, they're the ones that did Freddy vs. Jason and stuff like that.
Freddy vs. Jason was fun.
Yes, which I wish they would have done the sequel, but thanks to Bruce Campbell, they couldn't do it.
Oh, what happened with that?
Bruce Campbell was supposed to redo his Ash from the Evil Dead series in it, and he literally was like, they signed all the stuff, and as he was signing the last piece of paperwork, he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I want to add a clause that says I get to kill one of the characters."
Oh.
And he's like, and they're like, yeah, sure, you can do that. He's like, no, I want to be able to kill one of the characters so he doesn't come back to life, and he's never seen again.
Oh, like permanently, take him out of like cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I don't know which one they would have done. I mean, they probably either one really.
Yeah, but they were like, no, we have other plans for these.
Because like, when's the last Friday the 13th movie we got? They did a remake in what, like 2010?
Around there, yeah. Because let's see.
Oh, I need glasses so bad. I cannot read when I'm typing. Oh, I almost got Friday right. Okay, no, there's more after part 13.
2009?
Friday the 13th Vengeance in 2019?
That was a series.
Oh, a series?
Yeah. Yeah. They got canceled.
Oh,
yeah, they're...
Let's go down this list. 2009 Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's the remake there.
Yeah. Jason X. I didn't watch Jason X.
Jason X actually was decent.
Was it?
Yeah, I actually liked it. I wish they would have continued on with that version of Jason, because it took place in the future, and it was a very comical version of Friday the 13th.
Oh, like over the top, like...
Yeah.
I like that. Because that's kind of how I felt about, was it Friday the 13th part 5 or 6, where Jason goes to Manhattan?
Yeah.
Like, very silly, but, like, fun.
Yeah. So, spoiler for those that haven't seen Jason X, but yeah, there's a scene in it where he's walking through the spaceship, and they set up a hologram to try to distract him. He literally takes one of the ladies, puts him in a sleeping bag, and just starts beating her up against a tree. Or beating her and whatnot. It's just like...
Love it.
And the entire time you just hear her laughing and giggling because it's a hologram.
Right. So what do you... How far do you think horror for you expands? Like, would you consider, like, the Alien movies horror?
Horror-esque. I do like them. I do watch them during Halloween, October and stuff like that as part of the horror stuff.
Definitely probably sci-fi.
Yeah. But... I mean, they have a scary aspect to them. But in my opinion, they're as much horror as, like, Predator is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like on that verge.
Yeah, because I'm a really big Alien fan. I think that first movie's really spooky. Because that's the whole like vibe of it, is like you're getting stalked by like this alien predator, like alien creature.
Oh yeah.
And then the second and third one are definitely sci-fi fun.
Yeah, I think they should have stopped after the third one.
I agree, and I have a really soft spot for the first Alien vs. Predator movie. I think even though critically I don't think it got great scores, I think it was a really cool idea and really fun.
Oh yeah.
Probably didn't need to make 2 or 3 more of those movies.
Yeah, that sequel to it should not have been made.
No, there's another one after that.
Is there really? I didn't know there was a third Alien vs. Predator. It's 4?
I think there's 4. They released one like a couple years ago.
Did I literally just blank all those out then?
Yeah, listen, you did yourself a service by blanking them out.
Because I knew about those 2.
I know that there is a third.
Because I know there's also a game that they were like, yeah, this is part of the series also.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that there was a third that had what's her name in it? Unless it was another Predator movie. The one
from Fast and Furious?
No, Olivia Munn.
Oh, Olivia Munn.
She was in. Maybe it was a Predator.
That's a Predator movie.
Oh, that movie was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch that movie.
Because that's the one that they're on the jungle planet, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was another Alien versus
Predator. No, that was Predator only. That was Predator versus Predator because they even put like 2 predators against each other in that movie.
That's right. Yeah, that movie, not good.
No,
not good. And what was it? Predators when they like go to a different planet.
So that's the jungle planet one. Then there's Predator where the Predator comes to Earth and starts changing and evolving as he kills people.
Okay.
Or it might be their opposite way. I just know those 2 movies are horrible.
Yeah, both of them were really bad. Really bad. And it sucks because Predator is such a cool concept. Like the first one, everyone loves the first one. I really liked the second one too.
The second one was fantastic. Was great in my opinion. The 2 new ones that they made should not.
No, I almost like. One thing that broke my heart in the sci-fi world was what they ended up doing Prometheus. That first Prometheus movie, in my opinion, could have led to some of the best sci-fi we have ever seen.
And then you get the sequel that they made. And
I read an interview from Ridley Scott where he like pretty much said like in a more presentable way that he is only doing the movie that he did because the fans harassed him for more Alien content. And I feel like Prometheus should have never had anything to do with Alien. Like maybe throw in an Easter egg like they kind of did in the Prometheus movie of like, oh, that's where maybe the alien started. What they did with that second movie was
it was
travesty.
It was. I'm glad I didn't pay to go see that thing in theaters. I'm just disappointed I paid the $5 on DVD on a Black Friday.
I saw it in theaters and I paid that movie theater the $15 for the ticket, the popcorn, the drink, the candy. I was so pumped. I'm like, this could be so good. And I was like, oh, you guys did us really dirty with that one.
Yeah. No, I think they should do another. They should do another Alien versus Predator, or just another Alien and Predator movie that just makes up for everything else.
Yeah, I would love a Predator movie where we're actually on like their home planet. Like, what do they really got going on? Because like we get the lore, right? And like I don't know anything about Predator versus Hunter, but I know that that's like a big like graphic novel.
Yeah.
I don't know what Hunter is. I'm not familiar with what that sci-fi realm is.
That's one I haven't read in years.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it too much now.
But I think that would be a cool, like, why not make, a B-list movie of Predator versus Hunter. Why not? But let's wrap it up. We're at 2 hours and 8 minutes. Like I say, time always flies.
Oh yes.
As far as social media, where's the best place people can go for you?
They can hit us up on Facebook at Dark Prime Collectables, or they can hit us up on our website, Dark Prime Collectables also.
Okay.
That also has a link to our store's sell site too, so they can actually buy from us there too if they wanted to.
So you can buy online?
Yes.
Awesome. I know that you are dabbling in TikTok a little bit.
We are. We're hoping to dabble more into it. You can check us out there also. That should be underneath Dark Prime Collectables also.
Okay. And then location-wise?
Location, we're up in Clearfield, 354 South State Street.
354 South State Street, Clearfield. What's the zip?
84015.
84015. Yeah, I mean, I think I want to thank you for coming
Oh, yeah,
on.
definitely.
I think that we're going to be doing more stuff here in
Oh,
the
yes.
future for sure. And everyone listening, if you enjoyed this, let me know. We can always do a part 2. Like, that's not a problem. And then potentially some D&D content in the future.
Yes.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
And maybe we can get you playing some Magic and you get that on stream also.
Get that back. I've been really wanting to get back into it so bad, and it really hit me during COVID. Like, I was just kind of like, man, getting that itch. But all right, everyone watching, if you're here on Twitch, YouTube, any of the other outlets, Spotify, Apple, you guys know where you're at. Just want to rehash that this podcast was sponsored. It's by Happiest, the #1 place to go for premium CBD that won't break the bank. Locally owned and sourced here in Utah. Safe for work, no THC. You don't have to stress about that. And they have something for everyone. If you're in pain, if you need better sleep, they have products. Go check them out. It's happiestmed.com, HEPIUSMED.com. Thank you guys very much for listening. Make sure to check out the links in the comment section below to go check out Dark Prime Collectables, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.